This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. First and foremost, I would like to say, call out Yahweh Shem Yahshai, Bashem Dash, the ones to the apostles and elders, great Nelson, Ruel. Peace, blessings, salutations to the whole fellowship, to all you brothers out there pushing the word in truth and sincerity. Shalom, tell you brothers, stay strong, pushing it with quick lesson. And we see right now that the Lord is working. He's doing a beautiful work, which is Him bringing back the children of Israel. And not just the children of Israel, but the ones that really matter, the ones that the Most High gave Yahweh Shai, which is the 144,000 and the 1/3, the remnant of Israel, the elect, the hopeful elect. That's who the Lord is coming back looking for and saving. Because He ain't coming back to save the whole nation of Israel, but a small remnant. But the beautiful thing is that the Most High, He's bringing the tribes back together. Where ain't no more hatred, ain't no more despising each other, trying to get off on each other, trying to backstab each other, pretty much destroy one another. So the Most High, he's closing, or He's removing that griminess from us, and He's bringing us back as one nation. The 144,000 and the 1/3, the ones that really matter, like I said. But it says right here, Isaiah 11, chapter 13, the envy also of Ephraim, which Ephraim represents the northern kingdom, which is the Latin tribes, shall depart. And the adversaries of Judah, which is the so-called Negro tribes, which is the southern kingdom, shall be, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Exactly. So all that animosity that we once had towards each other, the Most High is cutting that off. He's removing that off from us. And because at one point, maybe a couple years back, even when it came to our people, 2/3, they would kill each other, they would hate each other, they would call each other niggers and spics and wetbacks, right? They would go shoot each other down. You had Ephraim fighting against Judah, or you had Issachar, fighting against Ephraim. So you had a lot of, amongst all the tribes, you had a bunch of animosity towards each other. Latin tribes against Latin tribes, so-called Negro tribes against so-called Negro tribes, or even the other way, so-called Latin tribes against the Negro tribes and vice versa. So you've always had that hatred towards our people, man, or towards each other, killing each other, destroying each other, trying to scheme each other. But now the Most High, the beautiful thing is the Most High, He's removing that, and He's bringing us back into one nation, because we're family. We're all from the same bloodline. We come from a royal bloodline. So now the Most High is bringing us back to Him. Beginning with, once again, of course, beginning with the hopeful elect. Now not the brothers, or not, dudes that believe 50% or 80% or 99% of the truth, but the brothers that believe in the 100% truth. Those are the ones that the Most High is coming back to save. The true worshippers of Yahweh Shem Yahshai. But once again, Isaiah 11, verse 13, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So that's the beautiful thing, that's the beautiful work that the Most High is doing. So now let me go ahead and get the book of, there's a book of Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37, verse 16. And it says, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, which once again, Judah is the so-called Negro tribes, and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, which also another name for the Latin tribes, or another term, or another way it's talking about the Latin tribes is when the Lord mentions Joseph. That also represents the so-called Latin tribes. So it says, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. Exactly. And this, of course, is talking about the 12 tribe sign, which tells us of who we are, beginning with Judah, which is the so-called Negroes, all the way down to Issachar, which is the so-called Mexicans, and all the tribes in between. So that's talking about the Latin tribe sign. But it also, talking about the fact that the Most High is bringing us back into one stick, into one fold, as His children. Because we never saw eye to eye. um, that skin color kind of separated us from one another, and we thought we were different people. We was, you know, Issachar or Ephraim would look at Judah, and they would say, "Oh, no, we're not the same," and vice versa. Judah would look at Ephraim, and they would say, "We're not the same because of that skin color of bullshit." Which that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks when it comes to trying to get to the truth, right? Because you see skin color. That's the first, our people, they see skin color. They see on a physical level. They don't see on a spiritual level. Because even on another note, you're gonna have Jakes that look like fucking crackers, like straight up Edomites, blue eyes, blonde hair, blonde stringy hair and shit. Very pale skin, but he's an Israelite. You're gonna have Israelites looking like so-called so-called Chinese, so-called Arabs. You're gonna have Israelites looking like every other nation. So that skin color thing, you gotta throw that out the window, because the skin color doesn't matter. Which skin color does matter in a way, because of course we know that the Most High is a so-called Negro, Yahweh Shai is a so-called Negro, the angels are so-called Negroes, the tribe of Judah is so-called Negroes, Benjamin, Levi, of course, right? But then, on the other hand, you have the Latin tribes, which is, they're of a fair complexion. They're of a light brown skin tone. Okay, we're not as dark as Judah. Now, you might have some Latin tribes that are as dark as Judah, but for the most part, the majority of us, of the Latin tribes of Ephraim, we're going to be light skinned or light brown. Okay, light brown, a light shade of brown. Okay, so that skin color, you got to throw that shit out the window. Okay, when it comes to the tribe, when it comes to being Israel, a skin color doesn't really matter. Okay, you gotta look spiritually. Okay, so it says, "Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand." And this is what the Most High is doing. He's bringing us back together to worship Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Okay, he's removing us from all these different churches that we used to go and worship, from all these different philosophies. He's removing us from the world, and he's bringing us back to him, to the truth. Okay, to be spiritual, to be holy, to be sacred. Okay, to try to seek perfection, and that's what it's all about. Okay, but let me go ahead and get the book of. Okay, there's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 33. And it says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together." Exactly, because we all went through the same thing. Now, of course, Judah went through the worst of the captivity or whatever, right? The worst of the curses. And also because, of course, they were the ones that sold out Yahweh Shai. They were the ones that sold them out to the Romans. But Judah went through the worst of the situations. But even us, as the Latin tribes, we went through fucked up shit too. Okay, when the Spaniards came into, the Spanish and Portuguese went into Central or Mexico and South America, and then you had the British Edomites come to what is now known as America. You had the French going up to Canada, the French Edomites. So you had all these Edomites that came and conquered the so-called land tribes as well. They raped our women as well. They took our children, sold them into slavery. So we went through the same oppression. Okay, so we're not supposed to look at each other different, man. We came from the same struggle. It says, "And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." Exactly. Who were the ones that kept us captive, or that took us captive? Esau, beginning with Esau, of course, the so-called white man. Okay, and that's written through history. Through even Esau's history books. It is written about what we went through. From Judah all the way down to Issachar, our captivities and the different conquests that they came through, the different oppressions that they brought upon us. Even to this very day, we're still catching hell. Okay, it says they refused to let them go. Exactly. Okay, so we went through the same struggle. And as a nation of Israel, there, like the scripture says, that no other nation has went through what Jerusalem has gone through. Okay, as the children of Israel, we went through the worst. Okay, the worst of the worst, man. You can't, you ain't no comparison to any other type of captivities or oppressions that any other people have gone through than what we've been through. Okay, everyone else when they went through the bullshit or whatever, it was like a walk in the park compared to our struggles, to our captivities. Okay, and even the other nations have something to do some way somehow with our captivities as well, which they're gonna pay as well. Okay, of course, Esau's gonna get the worst of the worst when it comes to slavery, captivity, being in torments. But the mother nations, they're gonna have to catch some type of beat down too. They're gonna have to get the beat, the ass whooped as well. Okay, not as bad as Esau, but still. So once again, Jeremiah 50 verse 33, to say, the Lord opposed the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Okay, so now, but like going back to the main topic of the lesson is the Most High, He's bringing us back together because we're similar. Okay, we are the same people, even though we might have different different shades of brown. Okay, even though we how can I say, we might have been born in different countries or whatever, because that's what happened, right? The Most High scattered us abroad and shit. So we actually think that we're different. You have some tribes that came from the west coast of Africa. You already had the tribes over here. So that's like a stumbling block to our people, okay? Because they actually believe, oh, I came from Mexico, I came from Puerto Rico, I came from the west coast of Africa, so on and so forth. So we see each other differently, but we're not. We're the same. Okay, we all come from the same forefathers. Okay, we come from Jacob, beginning with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, which is a beautiful thing, man. From the same bloodline, we're the same family. Okay, so now let me go ahead and get this last scripture. This book is Zechariah chapter 9 verse 13, and it says, when Zechariah 9 verse 13, when I have bent Judah for me, which is Judah, once again, the so-called Negro tribes, filled the bowl with Ephraim, which is the so-called Latin tribes, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece. Now, right here, the sons of Greece represents Esau, the so-called white man. Okay, and made thee as a sword of a mighty man. So the Most High is comparing Judah and Ephraim to a bow and arrow, which is a weapon of war, coming together. Okay, when you have a bow without the arrow, man, that weapon is useless. It's powerless, man. Might as well fucking give up or surrender. Or the same thing with an arrow. Okay, that weapon is useless, man. Or the arrow is useless. But when you put the bow and the arrow together, then you have something going on, man. Then you're cooking with peanut, like to say, then now you're cooking with peanut oil. Okay. So when you have the bow and arrow together, man, that weapon is very powerful. Okay. It says, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as a sword of a mighty man. Exactly. So this is what the Most High is going to make us, a sword of a mighty man. And that's in the kingdom. Once the Most High sets us up in the kingdom of Yahushua, He's going to give us that spiritual power. Okay, and there's no way Esau's going to be able to combat us, fight against us, take us down. Okay, because we're going to be an unstoppable force, a spiritual unstoppable force. Okay, we're going to be like a bunch of supermen, out there, just, flying, doing all types of tricks, spiritual tricks. So even the mother nations, man, at the end of the day, the Esau and the other nations, they're never going to be able to take us down, because the spirit and the power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is going to be within us heavy. Now, of course, the spirit and the power is within us, heavy as well, but it's going to be on a higher scale in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, but anyways, with that, I'm saying, call out Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, till next time, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, say shalom.